So, welcome back for another episode of Tell Victoria's Secret. I have a special guest with me today, Yusra. She's joining us as an entrepreneur and bar restaurant owner. Just opened up a place downtown, a speakeasy called Year of the Fortune.
Yep.
And definitely go check it out. I'm probably going to be sliding through there tonight. Check it out. But thank you so much for joining me
Of course.
today.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I
Appreciate
mean,
that.
I've been talking about having you on for a while
I
now, and
know.
now that we finally have this guesting platform, I just, I want to get deep with you. I want to hear. I know you kind of told me what you want to talk about. With topic is love enough?
Yeah.
It's crazy because I actually did a personal podcast on this topic.
Really?
Yeah, I did it on. It was the girlfriend part one. So it was my first long-term relationship, 5 years.
Oh, wow.
And that was like the theme, like love isn't enough. Like I stayed in that relationship way past its expiration date.
Huh. Yep.
And now I finally learned that. So I want to know, how did you learn that? And is this a recent discovery
I think it is. I think it is recent. For sure.
Okay.
Cause
Tell me more.
so like I always believe in like fairy tales, right? Like that was like my thing. Like I love love. I'm also like I love like when I do something for somebody just to see their reaction or their I'm very that just matters so much to me.
So would
Uh,
you say your love language is like acts of service?
Yeah, in a sense,
Okay.
yeah. But I think like I said, I've been in relationships like pretty consistently throughout my life. Like I've been in 5 relationships since I was 16, one marriage, um, one divorce, so like, I've kind of been around but I always had like this like, not, I wouldn't say fantasy because it is attainable, but this unreal expectation of love,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Where do you think you got that from? I know where mine came from. Where do you think yours came from? I want to see if it's the same.
It's probably from not having the proper love that I needed,
Yeah.
growing up, and then also too, I took on a masculine role, obviously, and so um, I feel like that's lacked a lot in just relationships nowadays. So it's like, I feel like when you woo somebody off their feet, like
So you're like the hopeless romantic and
yeah,
you're like giving all of yourself and
all of
then
it.
so you very much feel like what people say like, oh, the nice guy never wins type thing.
Yeah.
Like do
No,
you feel like
I wouldn't even say
you got
that.
taken advantage of or
No, no, no. I don't feel like I get taken advantage of. I think I build like a silent animosity because I do what I also expect back. You know what I'm saying? So I
yeah.
like in a relationship, it's hard for me to like um I guess how do I put it properly? Um like I have something like almost like I hold something against them. And I don't
Mhm.
do it on purpose, but I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, well, like I would give you my last, like, why wouldn't you do X, Y, and Z?
Right.
And
I do that too.
yeah,
I know
because
exactly
it's
what
like
you're
you go
talking about.
above and beyond, you expect that, in
Mhm.
return. So it's hard when people don't return your love languages back to yourself. I mean, back to you. Um, so yeah, I mean, but I like I said, kind of going back on path. I was always like a hopeless romantic. Like that's just my thing. Like, I love it. I'm never gonna stop loving it. But as I've gotten older, so my ex-wife, um, she used to tell me that all the time. She would tell me like, um, like love isn't enough. And I would be like, what you mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, so you telling me if I had to live on the side of the road, you wouldn't come live with me, like, and she was
Mm.
like, absolutely not. And
Yeah.
I'm like, at first, like, I was like, hold on. You know what I'm saying? Like, wait,
So wait, was she trying to tell you like your pockets weren't deep enough or?
no, 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 no. It wasn't that. It was just like, like she knows what she wanted out of life.
Yeah.
And in her eyes, that was too big of a sacrifice. Does that make
Mm.
sense? It
Mm.
sounds bad, but like moving forward, it's like, because you always have this like vision of like somebody like, go through anything with you, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, now looking back, I see her perspective and I'm like, oh, okay, like, yeah, you're right. Like, why, if you really love somebody, why would you even put them in that fucking situation? You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like, so
Yeah.
I get it. You know what I'm saying? And I think that I used to not believe it because there would be things like that. And as I've gotten older, I've realized that like I truly don't believe love is enough.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not. Like, and I'm definitely in a position like that right now too, because like I recently met a guy who I was like, oh, like I like spending time with him. Like his companionship is nice, and like we have some aligned interests, but like there's a big age gap. He's
Hmm.
significantly younger than me. And with that comes experience. Like people say, like, oh, age is nothing but a number. Like to a certain extent, yes, but like age also comes with experience and like, credit scores and, bank account balances. And it's like, I know that some of those things like shouldn't matter. And like, I used to approach relationships that way, but like, I take on the more feminine role in
Yeah.
a relationship. And so if I'm thinking about being more feminine and not wanting to be as masculine as I've been, then I need to be with a provider and a protector and like somebody who's going to be more of that breadwinner so that I could take a backseat to my career and like stay home to take care of the kids.
Yeah.
And so like when I was dating at 21 to 26, like when I was in my 5-year relationship, I wasn't necessarily thinking of that. Like I didn't even those things didn't even dawn on me. I was thinking like what you were thinking, like we're gonna
Yeah.
go through everything together. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yep.
gonna struggle, we're gonna build together. And then at that age, you have the ability to do that.
Uh-huh.
But when you're 36, like I am now, and you're meeting somebody maybe 9, 10 years younger, it's not fair to put that pressure on them to be like, oh, well, you need to be where I'm at or higher.
Hmm.
That's not right.
But I think that it's easier from a woman's perspective to have those, like, cause you don't hear dudes like, oh yeah, she don't have shit, I'm not messing with her.
Yeah.
Like you don't hear dudes.
More so, I hear that more like recently,
Well,
which
that's
is,
because this like that's going into like a topic of like the feminine attributes that men have picked up over,
yes, agreed.
over the this past decade, I would
Well,
say.
and women have kind of caused that,
Yeah.
right? Because of this hyper feminist culture of we're equal,
Yeah.
gender equality. I can do what a man can do. All of this, I should be making what a man should be making. I was a big proponent of that. Like I was like all girl power,
Yeah.
like, I want equality. And like now 10 years later I'm like, no, I want soft life. Like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be the same as you. I don't want to be trying to compete with you. Like, I want to have my own level of success, but I don't want to have to be relied on for that. Like, I genuinely at this place, like, I kind of have baby fever. Like, Teddy helps with that,
Yeah.
but I'm like, I'm ready to be a mom. I'm ready to be
Yeah.
a wife. Like, I have that nurturing instinct that's coming more to the surface.
Yeah. I mean, I could understand that. Like for me, I feel like, like I kind of pull on like the provider role.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when we talk about like men and stuff like that and equal, I believe there is, so I have a
Do
different
you believe
perspective.
in 50-50?
No, no, I don't believe in 50-50, but I do believe in whoever got it.
Yeah.
It don't matter if it's the man or the woman, because
Right.
our society's not built like that no more,
Right.
where it's like,
Right.
$10 an hour make you're living a great life. Like,
Yeah.
you need to be making like 70,
Especially where
$80,000.
we live in San Diego.
Exactly. So in my personal opinion, like, why would you even want to be with somebody? Like, even though I'm a masculine person, like, if I don't have it right now, why would I want to be with somebody who will not step up to the plate
Yeah.
if I don't have it? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Like, it's different from being a bum. Like, when you're a bum and like that's
Right.
never gonna change, that's a different.
That's different.
But if you have somebody that's like chasing their visions or their goals, their dreams, whatever, like, either you're gonna be their support system or you're not. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? So I
That I
can't,
agree with.
yeah, I can't really like, say like, oh, it should be 50-50. Automatically, like, as a man, or even me as like more of a masculine presence, um, I don't think about like splitting, like what later on in life. You know what I'm saying? Like, in this coming thing, it sucks because you can invest a lot into somebody and they could turn around and walk away from you. And I've had that happen to me, where I gave
Same.
my whole hand,
Same.
and then you know what I'm saying?
The whole damn arm. Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's like,
Yeah.
I do believe, like, at some point, like, I was actually having this discussion with my partner about, like, and she was a little upset because she was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm not going to be a stay at home mom. I'm like, no, I didn't say I don't want you to be a stay at home mom. I just said, you're young, you're 30 years old. I don't, I believe that in this day and age, like, if you're trying to create generational wealth, you guys both have to like tag team for a period of
Yeah.
time. and then one can take the lead. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But also too, like, like her goal in life is to be a mother. I
Yeah.
get that. And she's an amazing mom. I can't
Yeah.
knock her. She does a great job. Um, but at the end of the day, I was telling her, she kind of started pouting, and I'm like, she's like, what do you mean? Like, and I'm like, well, you got to understand, like, chasing kids, like, that might sound great, but like, everybody has a dream. You know what I'm saying? She's
Yeah.
like, well, my dream is to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, so is half of America. But like, the way that the economy set up, everything, like,
Yeah.
if you have to work another 10 years and that puts our kids in a great and our grandkids in a great predicament, then who gives a who gives
Yeah. So let me ask you this. I'm going to challenge you a little bit because I feel like, in my opinion, like a true masculine energy is like someone who is a provider, protector, but also a leader, right? So,
yeah.
like, if your significant other is like saying, well, I want to be a stay-home mom, like I'm in my mom era right now, like that's what I want to do. Like, have you suggested to her that maybe she can make a business out of like raising kids? So it wouldn't just be her kid. Like maybe she
it's
starts a daycare and like,
it's funny. I told her, actually, the other day, I was just like, why don't you? Because, like, I'm all for, like, growing. Like, that's my thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, anybody around me, like, I just want them to grow to be the best version of themselves.
right,
You know what I'm saying? And I expect my partner, and it's kind of like an unrealistic expectation, but it's like, I expect you to love me so much that you be willing to fix yourself in any category that you need to fix yourself.
right,
You know what I'm saying? And so with her, I did suggest, I was like, why don't you start like a nonprofit or something like that for like mothers who, are single mothers, and they need a stay at home job.
yeah,
And she's like, I never thought about that, but like, that's not her thing. Like, she's not, you can't make somebody
an
be like
entrepreneur, yeah,
and I wouldn't say she's not an entrepreneur, because she's going to get it. And, she's a hairstylist. So in a sense, you are an entrepreneur.
yeah,
But like, you know, in my personal opinion, is like, there's so much to come after we die. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying? That I wouldn't want, like, I come from, I'm a Section 8 baby. like
yeah,
we come. My mom has 7
same,
kids, single mom. Like, she did a hell of a job raising us. Don't get me wrong. Like, we never were hungry. We always had a roof over our head. But that comes with struggles, and it's struggles that I don't want my kids to go through.
right,
You know what I'm saying?
right.
So if me and their mother have to work, for extensive period of time, then that's what it is.
Well, I think that's when it comes down to like really deciding what, like to your point when you said earlier, what kind of lifestyle you want to live. And does that mean that you're willing to contribute, or do you want to be more of a backseat? And like that's where I've had to make a change in like the way that I've dated, because before it was just based off of, oh, I like the way they look,
Hmm.
right? Then it's, I like the way they treat me. I like the companionship that they bring, and for me that was enough. But then I started to realize there's other things that go into
Hmm.
this, other pieces that are missing. Like when I'm thinking about, oh, the next step is, getting married, buying a house, having a family together. Like those bring different things into the picture, like finances, when it comes to taking on that person's credit score and buying a house. And if, I decided now I don't want a wedding anymore, but that's an expensive thing if you wanted that. Then you have, kids are a financial burden when you're talking about
Sure are.
insurance, all that stuff. So I'm like, okay, well, I can either be with Mr. Man who makes me feel good and gives me companionship, but if he's always around and he's not working and making money, then I have to bear more of the burden of that. Or I could be with a guy who maybe makes more money and he might not be around as much, or I could be with somebody who kind of falls somewhere in the middle.
Yeah.
And so I think that's where I'm at right now, is like looking for my equal at the very minimum. That's like bottom line, is like, can you meet me where I'm at, mentally, spiritually, financially, emotionally, like all of those things. But then if you can exceed that, that's like the cherry on the top.
That's understood. I mean, people have, like, for me, like I said, I'm more masculine, so I don't, like, if I like you, I vibe with you, I mess with you, like, that's just what it is. Like, I'm not checking your pockets. I'm not,
It's a
like,
different dynamic, which
exactly.
brings a really interesting dynamic to this conversation.
Yeah.
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 So like I want to dig a little deeper. Can you give specific examples of where you felt like you learned love wasn't enough?
So, I had a very public marriage. And, you know, there was a period of time, I guess, we had like a falling out. We had multiple fallings out. We were very young, we got married at a young age, and it sounded good, and it was like during COVID, and we tried, and
It
it
was an
was,
epic proposal.
yeah, I know that
You
was
you
my first
did you
break,
did
so
really good on
I know. I told her, I was
that.
like, if that ever happens, moving forward, or when it does, like you're just gonna have to go look at that YouTube video because that's all
Yeah.
you getting out of me, like,
Yeah.
but yeah. So like I tried, and I feel like we had internal things that we hadn't dealt with individually. So and um, when you have two people like that, it's like fire and oil. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like we just
Water and oil,
water and
they
oil.
don't
There
they
it
don't
is. Yeah,
mix,
I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm thinking of fire. um, and it just, it didn't. And now, we went through our own thing. And we're kind of at a point now, but she's amazing. She checks all the categories.
But wait,
Um,
let's rewind a little bit because you guys got married
yeah,
and then you had kind of an up and down emotional roller coaster relationship.
yeah. We broke up a few times in
And then you
between, and
guys actually got divorced,
yeah, so we
like
got divorced.
legally divorced.
Yeah, yeah,
But now you guys are back together.
yeah,
Okay. So
yeah.
then I would think that love is enough, right? Because love
Uh-huh.
brought you guys back together.
Yeah, but I also think that
Like what
there's
what was the change? Why did you guys like to get divorced and then come back together? That's big. Like what was the let's do this again. Let's try this again. What was that moment?
I think that was like, for me, it was like she checks all my boxes, like what I
Yeah.
want out of a woman. And we have a past. And
Yeah.
so to disconnect completely from that past, and
Mm.
it's hard. It's not
Yeah.
easy. Like I deal with it all the time, it's not an easy thing. But I mean, yeah, I think at this point I was just like, hey, like, like I'm in a zone where I'm like, I just want to get everything right in my life, like, financially, business wise, all this other stuff. Like I don't want to be in love. I don't, and I was very transparent about that. And it's not that I don't love her. It's just like love makes me stupid. I end up
Me too.
I end up dumb. And I tell her that. And I, like, I'm being honest, like, like I don't want to be stupid, because I
Yeah.
get so tunnel vision on that person. I want
Yep.
them to be the best version of themselves so I can go be the best version. And like at this point, like when we got back together, we'd been together, on and off for 4 years, 5 years. So I was just like, hey, like I'm not in that zone right now. And
So do you think like taking the pressure off of love is what allowed it to just organically like be healthy or
I think that you have to find, so we check each other's boxes for the most part, so it's
Mhm.
like, and I think at that point it was like, when I made the decision ultimately, um it was because of love, of course, but also too because, like, I know she checks all my boxes, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So like, it's like we'll find love later. Let's just go hustle and do what we need to do. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, okay, got it. So wait, what brought you guys back together is the fact that she checks all your boxes.
Well, not that she
Take
checked.
like love out of it, but it's like because like the love was there, you're like, we'll find it again.
Yeah, like, like we
Yeah.
didn't we didn't we didn't play this rodeo, a long
Yeah.
time. So when it comes to
That's a
like,
different
so when it
perspective. Okay.
comes to it, it's like, okay, like, I know. All
Yeah.
right, like, like
So
that's,
it's like
we don't need
we're
to say much.
friends, like the sex is good. I like the way you look. I love how you are as a mother. Like,
Yeah, like things like that,
we have fun together. So it's like
Yeah.
it's more of like a friendship at this
As
point
I mean, I wouldn't
in a
say
way.
friendship. It's a relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I think anytime you put sex in a, it's automatically a relationship. But
Yeah.
it's more of like, um, it sounds very like, no, I wouldn't say selfish. But I've never been selfish. I've never had the opportunity to be selfish. So like, I feel like I'm in a very selfish era right now.
And your partner accepts that.
Yeah.
And that's new for her, right?
Yeah, because she's used to me being like,
All about her.
yeah, and I am all about her. Don't get me wrong, but I'm just not like, I'm focused on myself.
Have you noticed in dating that like when you like I've noticed this about me from like the feminine perspective. If a guy is too into me, it almost like gives me the ick
Yeah,
where I'm like, what's wrong here?
Yeah,
Like
that
it's
could
like
have
a
been
red
something.
flag. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I'm like, do you think that maybe that might have been
It's
pushing her
funny.
away a
I
little
told
bit?
her that. I
And
used to
like
tell her
now the
that.
reverse is
Mm.
happening.
And I told her, it's funny because I did tell her, I was like, like for instance, like when we first started dating, when she would go to the shower, like she would be in the shower, like I would sit on the toilet and we would talk, and then
She had
like
like no alone time.
no, it wasn't like it was like when you first start dating, like
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
it
yeah.
wasn't like I was in her, like you know what I'm
Yeah,
saying, but like
yeah,
we would just talk, whatever, and then it became an ick later on, and then
yeah.
now she's like, I wish you would be like that again, and I'm
Yeah.
like, well,
Because you always want what you can't have.
but then
Yeah.
in my head, I'm like, yeah, nah, like I did that shit and it turned around and bit me in the ass. So no, I'm not doing it again.
It's literally a finesse because I do want a guy who's obsessed with me and like prioritizes me and puts me first. But it's
Mm-hmm.
like if it's too much, like if it's like creeper status, then like I'm not gonna like it.
Yeah,
You know,
nah, for sure.
it's definitely a finesse. It's like that fine line.
Yeah, no, for
Okay,
sure.
so like, is marriage back in the future for you guys?
Right now
Take away.
we're taking it as it is. Um, I think that I'm not worried about that right now.
Yeah,
You know.
you guys are just like enjoying being back
Yeah.
together, and you got a baby in the picture now too,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah. Yeah. So
And
it's
so, what kind of dynamic does that add to a relationship?
um
Do you think it like puts more pressure? Or do you think it
not at
makes it
all.
better?
It probably makes it better for sure. I
Really?
mean,
Yeah.
she's a blessing. Like
Yeah.
I honestly like I love her.
You
Like
you
that's the only
you have
person I had
kids too.
that's the
Yeah.
only person I had time for. Like
Yeah.
if you know what I'm saying, like I
She's
will,
beautiful
yeah,
baby.
I will make time for her any day at night. It don't matter. Like it sucks because like I'll tell Yasmin, I'm like, listen, like like the only like I'm in love with that baby,
Yeah. Yeah.
like and she'll
That's the
laugh.
hard part because you actually know my ex. We talked about this. We're not name dropping, but he's like the only guy that I dated that had a kid.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
And we didn't date for very long. It was like a short 4-month relationship, but it was serious, like pretty quick. And it was like it made it that much harder because like I had never one dated a guy with a kid, but then getting into that role and being serious with the person I'm dating, like I very much stepped into like stepmommy role. Like I was like had just like a solo day with like me and his kid and hung out with the other moms and the other like girlfriends and stuff and like made friends with them and we did like that kind of stuff. And it's like I was a nanny growing up, like in college, so like I've always been good with kids, but it's like you build this special bond with the kid too.
Mhm.
So when shit goes left, it's hard because then you're like you lose the kid. I mean, this specific
Yeah.
situation, me and the baby mom stayed friends. I don't think he was happy about that.
Yeah,
So I
no.
still get to see the kid, but I don't know. It's like that's always been my challenge and he was like older. He was like 2 at the time.
Yeah.
It's like you're coming in at like infant. So it's like
Yeah.
you're
No, that's my
basically
baby.
raising that child
Yeah,
like
like
she's
that's
your
my
own.
child. Yeah,
Right,
like
right,
that's not I don't look past her as not being anything less than my
right,
child.
right. 100%.
Like so I don't and that part of it gets a little bit that's like you would have to bring Yasmin on this podcast.
I should have
You
had both y'all on here.
you would have to bring her on the podcast and let her tell her story,
Yeah,
because
I would
that's for
love
her
to.
to share. That's not
Yeah,
for me to share.
of
But that as
course.
far as the baby, she definitely the glue for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Like
No, motherhood looks
she
really good on her.
she definitely like and I it's like a running joke, but I would tell Yasmin like you better like I'll tell her because I call her daughter Dubby, which in Arabic is Dabba, which means like chubby girl.
Okay, yeah,
So I
yeah.
call her Dubby, and I'm like, you better look at her and say thank you. And she's like, why? And I'm like, cause she's the reason why I'm here. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh, yeah.
and so like I stand by that.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's like I look at her nothing less. But I,
So I
you,
mean, based on your dating history with her,
mhm.
and you guys have been up and down, like does that ever cross your mind? Like what happens if we break up again and then like the baby?
If she took the baby, that would be a decision she would make. But until the baby, I mean, when the baby is like when Armenia is like has my last name, that's not gonna really be an option. You know
Right.
what I'm saying? Like
Right.
you're not gonna take. I think she wouldn't either. She's not like
Yeah.
equipped to just take
Cuz
the
you're
baby.
you're a good parent and in the baby's life. So it's like why would she
Yeah.
want?
I mean, even like, for instance, like, in between me and Yasmin's relationship, one of our breakups, we were split up for a year. I was in another relationship. She had a son.
Mm.
And me and her son were yin and yang. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'll walk out, he run back in his room and dress just like me. And so, like, I love kids. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, kids, people need to understand too. Like, children in my form, like, so, I was actually explaining this to Yasmin. I feel like being around him and, being that figure in his life, even if it was just for a short period of time, allowed me to heal parts of my inner child,
Mm.
because you get to do
That
what
part.
somebody didn't do for you,
Yep.
just for somebody else. And so, you know that type of stuff, that type of stuff's important. And so, when I get attached to a child, I get attached,
Yeah.
and it doesn't matter, who the child belongs to, like, that's,
It's the bond that
so
you
I
build and the
had some
connection.
experience parenting before the baby came along.
Right.
But
How old was the other kid?
he was 6
Okay.
and 7.
Yeah. That's
Right.
always like a fear that I have in the back of my head. I recently, so like on my other playlist, Dating or Gaming, I talked about this story where I went out with Mr. Square.
Mm-hmm.
It's his nickname. And it was the first time I dated somebody who was separated. So not even fully divorced yet, but was like heading towards divorce. And that's always been a thought in the back of my mind, like, what if they go back? Like, what if they like get married to that person again?
You
And
know,
like this is a prime example of that happening.
I mean, and like I said, I wouldn't want to, put. I couldn't imagine that that's something um, that didn't cross her mind.
Yeah.
And it wasn't something that was anticipated.
Right, of course. That
Like,
never is.
well, even me and Yasmin, we got back together very suddenly. And it was just like, okay, like, you're running that direction, I'm running that direction, like, let's just run. You know what I'm saying? But um, it was a whole. It's hard to kind of explain it properly. I don't consider, me and her, we were friends for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
We were friends for like 10 plus years. So
Really?
yeah, yeah. So
Oh,
it wasn't something like um that situation was just, it was it's hard to explain without um kind of like digging,
too deep?
Yeah, I mean, it's not that I don't want to dig deep. It's just not my information to pass on, and
Right. I
people know
respect
what I'm
that.
talking about and who I'm talking about. So
Yeah.
I want to do my best to respect
100%.
both
I
parties.
appreciate that. Yeah.
So yeah, but it just came a point where I was running, and we were just running separate directions, and
Yeah.
that's essentially why me and her split up. It
Mm-hmm.
wasn't because of Yasmin, and I didn't
It
want
wasn't
the.
like, oh, I'm back. Let's try this again. And then,
Yeah, no, no,
yeah,
no. It wasn't.
you guys
Yasmin
were
was on her.
fully split
Yeah,
already. And then
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yasmin
yeah,
came back.
yeah.
Okay.
Like, yeah, and that, because it's a comfortability and moved. You know,
Right. You guys have a history.
exactly. So it's a
Yeah.
little bit different than starting a relationship fresh. But no, as far as that relationship, it was a real relationship. There was no disrespect on her end. It was, when we split up, we have our little, tussle, and we're not cool and stuff like that, but, like, she'll still, like, let me talk to her son sometimes, and stuff like that. He'll call me, or like, as long as I can still be a factor in his life, because me and her disagreeing, or going our separate ways, I mean, doesn't mean that the kids should suffer. So,
Yeah.
and she understands that, and I understand that. So, you know
So I want to talk more about like the inner work, the inner healing that you did because you've had 5 relationships, you
I don't think
said.
I've ever healed. Let's just start there.
So you're still in this
I don't.
healing process.
Yeah, I think even, like, and that was something that
How did these things like rear their ugly head in your relationships, the things that you realized you needed to heal from?
I think that it's a lie to say that people are 100% healed. You
And
know,
I don't think anyone's ever
yeah, I
100%
think they
healed.
just forget. You just
Yeah.
forget the pain.
Yeah.
But, like, nobody's healed. So, what do you think about, the large scope? I guess some of the things would have probably been like the unrealistic expectations of, like, somebody.
Yeah.
Um, Yasmin, I played a lot. I did a lot of, like, when we first broke up, the first 2 times, 3 times, or whatever, we would do the most toxic shit to one another. It
Like
was
what? Give a
just
couple
like
examples.
toxic shit, bro. Like we were
I've
just
done some toxic things. I talked about it in a couple of my past episodes.
Man, me and that girl had some smoke. You know, like when we broke up, it was like it was just our world too. Like nobody cared about it. It was just me and that girl's
As a
world.
matter
Like,
of fact, now that I think about it, it was kind of a drunken night. So I'm like, I think it was in like Las Hadas, and I might have seen like a fight break out between you guys. Like,
yeah,
I was
probably.
like, all of a sudden, and Amanda's just standing there like, I don't know what
Oh
to
no,
do.
no, no. So that was a different night. They actually
Oh, okay.
banned
You
me.
remember
They
that?
86 me from Las Hadas for
Oh,
that night. And I have not been. It's been like 4 years. I have not been allowed to go back.
I remember
And it
that.
pisses me off because Las Hadas, a lot of people don't know their wings are better than their Mexican food. So the fact that I
I need to
can't
go get you
freaking
some
get, I
wings.
know,
Bring
and
you
bring
some
them,
wings.
man. But not somebody that night. Some girl like was laughing and pointing at Yasmin, and then I just looked at her, was like, hey, yo, like, what are you doing? And then some big ass dude like came out of nowhere. Bro looked like he was 500 pounds, 6'8", and he was like talking. I was like, I'm looking up. I'm 6'3", so for me to look up, I'm like, I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm gonna beat your ass.
Yeah,
Uh, and so they end up 80-60 me for that, but I didn't even get into a physical altercation. It was kind of weird. It was
that is
weird.
weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I don't think they liked me over there. I didn't do nothing, but maybe they didn't like that I was like bigger than them, like
Probably.
more attractive. I don't know, like probably some hater shit,
That's all the
honestly.
hater shit
Yeah, for
always.
sure. But yeah, nah, like no, for sure. That was yeah, we me and Yasmin had some toxic time. My other, I've had relationships where they were toxic. I was a toxic one. It switched on and
It's
off.
gone both ways.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think like at least where I'm at in like relationships, I recognize the things that I've done in the past that were toxic, and like I make a really good effort to like not do that anymore. And when I feel myself going into that, I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
this isn't good. I'm either gonna talk through it or I'm like, this isn't a good fit,
No,
right?
for sure.
But like some of the things I've talked about is like my ex was not wanting to like do chores and stuff, and like we lived together, and he's like really strongly like, I think he was sweeping or something, and those IKEA closets,
Yeah.
and they have like the glass where
Yeah.
he like hit the broomstick against it and it shattered everywhere. And I was pissed. I'm like, this is my closet. Like I'm a fashionista.
Yeah.
Like it's important to me. And I felt like he did it on purpose because we were in the middle of a fight about cleaning. So I took his Xbox and I just picked it up and I dropped it.
Yeah, that's some
It's
toxic
not
shit.
my
I mean,
proudest moment.
listen, I don't really, I'm not like a big fan of like gaming
It
systems.
still worked after that, but it was broken.
Yeah,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not a big fan, but I know how people connect with them damn gaming systems, so
I hate it. I hate
I
it.
can only
That was
imagine.
like the straw that broke the camel's back with the guy that that I dated. 2 weeks into the pandemic, he decided he wanted to become a gamer. He went to Walmart, got like a headset, came home, and I'm like, I was lonely. It was like 3 in the morning. He's still not in bed. He's downstairs playing the game. So I got him. When I got him, he found out I got a dog. He's like, you didn't ask me? I said, we don't live together. Because technically we didn't live together. We were quarantining together. And he broke up with me because I got Teddy. And then like a week later was like, oh, let's, try to talk about it, work it out. And was like, I got my dog.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right,
I don't
shout
do the
out.
gamers anymore. I feel like, well, that's what I'm saying. Like with experience, like you get older, you start learning things, you start learning yourself, you see what it is you want. You learn from mistakes, you know what you want, and then you just get clear. Like I think that's what dating is for, is like that period of like, let's get to know each other, see how you move in like hard situations. That's the mistake that I made with this last guy that I dated. The
Yeah,
one that you were asking me, we moved way too fast.
yeah,
Met
like
his
lesbians.
parents, like, is that is
That's
that
what
how
we call it.
lesbians
Yeah,
normally
lesbians. They always
move
they have a
fast?
joke like, you go on the first date, the U-Haul's outside. Yeah.
I didn't
Because
know
it's
that.
women, it's two women. You gotta understand. So like
He
you
definitely was in tune with his feminine energy more. Like I would say he was like healed in that way. Like he didn't present to be feminine, but like he wasn't afraid of emotions. Like we had great communication. We talked about, I mean, he was like, he's one of those crystal guys, you
yeah.
know?
Oh shit.
I know. I'm
Why'd you
like,
touch my crystal? That's
you should.
hilarious.
The first time I like FaceTime with him, he was on FaceTime with a crystal in his armpit. He was, and I actually got the ick. I'm like, I feel like my mama says this to me all the time. She's like, did he have a spell on you? Because she's like, all the things you said you didn't want, like
Right.
that's what he was. But somehow I just like fell, and I fell so hard and so fast.
Yeah, no,
But
yeah, but I mean, I know I seen it transpire pretty fast, and then next thing I
were
know,
you
you're,
concerned?
huh?
Were you concerned?
I mean, I feel like in my looking in it, I don't know you, but
Yeah.
looking at it, I feel like you know this life that you want, and you kind of like were like, oh, okay, you can give it to me, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
It was,
That's what I thought because he definitely presented that. But like, I don't know, in my experience, a lot of guys like they peacock in the beginning.
I think everybody does.
I
It's
don't.
like
I've
girls.
never
It's
done.
like girls. Girls like, oh, I won't. You know, like like
I've
I don't
never
play about that
peacocked.
stuff. But like girls be like, I won't fart in front of my guy. Like I'm so embarrassed. Like like I shower 3 times a day. Like when I'm gonna go see him. Like yeah, you guys do the same shit.
Oh, I don't do that.
Well, maybe you don't, but most girls do. I mean, they put on a certain image that they can't uphold, and
Yeah.
later on it comes on.
I mean,
So
if
yeah.
anything, like getting comfortable about. I mean, I'm not. I used to like not want to go places without makeup on. I don't even care about that anymore now. But like I would say, like for a first impression, I'm gonna meet a guy like done up, and then the more we get comfortable, I might be like more relaxed. But
I
that's
mean,
probably like the
but
only difference.
that's kind of how it is, though.
Yeah,
that's the. I mean, you don't really see people's true colors, and even at that, their colors change.
ain't that the truth?
Yeah, you can't do nothing about it. I mean, people's colors change.
So
Hey,
how would you say? So now you're committed to healing. You're committed to always doing the work on yourself. But what does that look like now with a partner back in your life? Are you guys healing
uh,
together? Are you healing independently?
I think
Like,
right now we kind of doing a little bit of everything. I mean, healing is. I feel like I've been healing, and it's been an ongoing thing where I've focused on it the past few years. Um, I mean, other than that, I mean, I think that this
what does healing look like to you? Like, are you in therapy? Do you
I was in
journal?
therapy
Do
for like
you?
2 years. I was like journaling a lot and reading a lot, and I've kind of strayed away from that. Um, just not part of like my programming right now. Um,
Yeah,
but like there's just certain things that help you at certain times. The gym was one for a while, and now it's really not. Now it's like a stressor. So like you just kind of like take it as what it is. I mean, life is life.
ebbs and
It's gonna
flows.
happen. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm very routine. I try to be very routine. Well, I am very routine, but my routine can be my downfall too sometimes. So I'm learning to like stray away from it. When I'm working 16, 17-hour days, I don't need to go to the gym.
yeah,
I'm killing myself.
yeah, 100%.
Somebody else might say, "Oh no, you should go. That's when you should go to the gym." But I'm like, why would I? Like you're killing
If it's
yourself.
not giving you like a release and it's just feeling like more of a chore, then yeah,
So I'm just kind of like in that point in my life, like I have 1,000 things going on, and my relationship is not on my priority. It's not top on my priority list right now because we're happy.
that's like a healthy thing for you,
Yeah,
huh?
because it's a new thing for me.
Yeah, because you've
Normally, my
always had like
relationship is my
number one.
priority.
Yeah,
Yeah. So it is a new thing, and I'm okay with it right now. I think that's where
I
I'm at.
love that for
Yeah,
you.
that's where I'm at.
It's changing for you. The dynamic is changing.
Yeah.
So, cheers to self healing, prioritizing yourself, and not repeating toxic patterns.
I mean, if they repeat, just learn from. Yeah.
You can never learn a lesson too many
Yeah,
times,
I
right?
know.
Well, this has been a great
Yeah.
conversation. Thank you so much for joining me
Thank you
and
for
talking
having me.
about if love is enough. Love is important. It needs to be there. Love does make the world go around, but I think it's also important to make sure that we stay focused on our main priorities and goals. So, thanks again for
Yep.
coming.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Lots of love and sparkle.